Every single year in fantasy, there are players that disappoint you. It's gonna happen. You're gonna win some and lose some. What goes up must come down, and what goes down must go up. Today, I want to talk about two players that's going to have a huge bounce back season. Let's go. First, let's talk about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is at the point of just being damn right disrespectful in 2024. He was injured last year, so he only played about half a season. Let's look at some of the stats. In 8 games out of the 17, he had right at 1,800 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He had 244 rush yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, on a per game basis, obviously you can't go by total points, but on a per game basis, that was good for 18.3 fantasy points per game. And in 2023, that was good enough for the QB 10. Now, on a 17-game pace, let's just say he played the whole season at that pace, he would have had right over 3,800 yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 518 rush yards, and 6 touchdowns, for a total of 311.1 fantasy points. That would have been good for the QB 6, which means even after the injury, even after missing a good bit of the offseason, and only playing a handful of games, he was good enough to be the QB 6 last year. Why is he being disrespected? No offense to Jordan Love, but Kyler Murray is being drafted behind Jordan Love at the QB 10. Jordan Love right now is being drafted as a QB 9. I don't understand. Jordan Love had one good year. They need to put some respect on his name. We also have to understand that Kyler Murray had very limited weapons last year and still performed over 18 fantasy points a game. His leading receiver was Trey McBride, a second-year tight end, who was pretty much a rookie at that point. He really didn't play much his rookie year. His wide receiver 1 was Hollywood Brown, with about 575 receiving yards and only 4 touchdowns. That was his wide receiver 1. That was his ex-wide receiver, his number 1 target in the offense. 570 yards and 4 touchdowns. This year, his wide receiver 1 is coming in and touted as one of the highest ranked receivers in recent memory. He is a clear upgrade over Hollywood Brown and is probably going to give you 600 yards and 4 touchdowns with his eyes closed. The last year that Kyler Murray had an outside wide receiver who was comparable, aka DeAndre Hopkins, he finished as the QB4. Like I said, last year he did end up getting hurt, so he missed a couple games. And people have short-term memory loss and they think that Kyler Murray is injury prone. Unlike Jordan Love, he's done it for more than one season. Let's look at his fantasy outputs throughout the years. In 2019, he played 16 games and was a QB 11. In 2020, he played 16 games and was a QB 4. In 2021, he played 14 games and was a QB 5. And in 2022, he played 11 games and was a QB 10. So in my mind, he's being drafted right now at his absolute floor with clear upside. He has a full offseason to prepare. He's not coming off an injury. He's not going to be scared to run the ball. He's got clear upgraded weapons. And let's also talk about the offensive coordinator. The Cardinals' new offensive coordinator was Cleveland Browns' offensive coordinator last year. Yes, the same Cleveland offense that made Joe Flacco look like prime Peyton Manning. The Browns last year threw the ball 5th most in the NFL, had the 5th most attempts. And I know what you're thinking. Well, the defense was bad. They had to throw the ball. The Cleveland Browns had the 5th ranked defense in total offense last year. If they're throwing the ball that many times with a good defense, think about how many times they're going to throw the ball with a bad defense. Kyler Murray is going to sling it, and he's going to give you plenty of opportunities in fantasy football. Clear upgrades, injury shouldn't be a concern, great draft price. Kyler Murray is going to have a bounce back season. Now let's talk about one of my favorite targets in 2024. I plan on having this wide receiver on all my fantasy teams. Cooper Kupp has a soiled name right now, among many reasons. People think he's injury prone, which, okay, he did get hurt 2 years in a row. That's understandable. Puka Nacua is the new wide receiver 1. What is he? Let's dive in. Cooper Kupp in 12 games last year. He missed the first 4 games, and he didn't play the last game of the season. So in those 12 games, he had 59 receptions out of 95 targets, 737 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns. That's accumulated for a 17-game pace. In 17 games, that would have been 83 receptions, 134 targets, 1,044 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns. If you're drafting a wide receiver in the first round, you're not too happy with those statistics. Those stats in 2023 would have been good for 229.4 fantasy points, which would have been good for the wide receiver 19 last year. So you might think, okay, well, Cooper Kupp, he's on the decline. He's not an alpha wide receiver anymore. He's only good enough for the wide receiver 19. In 2024, he's being drafted as the wide receiver 20. So in a down year, with many things working against him, injury-plagued offseason, not able to get healthy, not able to run the offense, Puka Nacua taking over as the wide receiver 1, getting back into football shape, and never really being fully healthy in the season, he still finishes as a wide receiver 19. He's being drafted as a wide receiver 20. If that doesn't do it for you, let's keep going. Right now, everyone, understandably so, thinks that Puka Nacua is the wide receiver 1 in this offense. But I'm here to give you some advice. That's not true. In 11 games last year, again, Cooper Kupp missed the first 4 games. He didn't play the last game of the season, and Matthew Stafford didn't play week 9. So altogether, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp played 11 games last year. Those stats in those games might surprise you. Cooper Kupp had 88 targets. How many do you think Puka Nacua had? 88. Cooper Kupp had 57 receptions. How many did Puka have? 59. Cooper Kupp had 5 touchdowns. How many did Puka have? 4. So in 11 games played with Matthew Stafford, well, obviously we hope will play the full 17 games. With Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, it's arguable who the wide receiver 1 is. But Cooper Kupp has an ADP of wide receiver 20. Puka Nacua you have to draft in the first round at wide receiver 6. Cooper Kupp is more of a slant wide receiver. He's going to get open in space, but he doesn't have a down the field threat. In the red zone, they're going to look for Puka, not Cooper Kupp. Again, not true. Let's look at the red zone targets last year. Cooper Kupp, in 12 games, had 19 red zone targets and 12 receptions. Puka Nacua, in 17 games, had 16 red zone targets and 9 receptions. Again, Cooper Kupp is the guy. Cooper Kupp had everything go wrong for him in 2023. This year, he's going to be a complete value. Let's look at some of the wide receivers you have to choose over Cooper Kupp compared to Puka Nacua. Again, Puka is going in the first round, and if you want to draft Puka, you're going to have to choose him over guys like A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown, which that is just something I'm not going to do. Clear alphas on their team, and they have more seasons under their belt as wide receiver 1s. I trust them a lot more. Cooper Kupp, you only have to pick him over Mike Evans and DJ Metcalf. The decision is clear in my book. Give me Matthew Stafford over Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. And last but not least, I want to mention the most important statistic. It took me about 5 hours of deep diving to find this stat. How many podcasts does Puka Nacua have with Matthew Stafford? 0. How many does Matthew Stafford have with Cooper Kupp? 1. Again, that's a 3-0 sweep for Cooper Kupp. I'm just kidding. But in all honesty, we think we can get into the minds of these coaches, but at the end of the day, relationships matter. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford has a bond and are great friends. He's his safety blanket, and he's one of his best friends on the team. That has got to count for something. So those are 2 of the players that I think are going to have a breakout season. If you want to have my full rankings, the link is in my bio. It's free to sign up. Just use your email. See you later. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Remember, subscribe to see more content from me and everyone here at Just in Time Media.